Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. I gotta say something, guys. Throughout the entirety of September, when I haven't done any videos at all, my mental health has plummeted like crazy. And I just want to say, please do take care of your mental health, because at some point you may reach a situation like I have where everything just feels so drab and terrible and awful. Whenever you notice this sort of things, it's a sign that you need to take care of yourself. So please, guys, take care of yourselves out there. From one mentally unhealthy tiefling to another person that's hopefully not dealing with as many issues as I am, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. 5 minutes in my university's TTRPG Discord. On the horror scale, this one's fairly low, I admit. If some of these posts are comparable to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then in terms of horror, this probably sits more at a mid-rung episode of Goosebumps level. Additionally, it did happen several months ago, so my recollection on the particulars might be fuzzy, but I'll try my best not to misrepresent anything. Anyway, around June or July of last year, I've developed the jonesing for some TTRPG and discovered that my university had a club. Very convenient, I thought. I found the Discord server listed on a Facebook group and thought it would be a good way to get my foot in the door and introduce myself. How's everyone doing? I asked in my first post. Big mistake, apparently. What followed was an increasingly erratic diatribe from a couple of members about how impersonal and generic the greeting was. I thought they were making a joke that I didn't really get at first, so I played along. But as I struggled to change the subject, the criticism became weirdly pointed and aggressive. I had uncorked a massive rant about the insincerity of social mores and how I must clearly have nothing substantial to say. Since I'm not in the habit of apologizing for observing basic politeness, I instead just tried to get on with the subject of maybe joining a game. This proved to be futile, and I left without another word. Dodged a bullet, I'd say. Found a campaign off campus that I've been enjoying for 9 months now, and no one gets mad or stroppy when I say hello to them. The slight inconvenience of having to travel is worth that, in my opinion. Now, this is a story from about 2 years ago, and the reason I'm covering it is because we actually have an update 2 years later. There's an update to this specific story, a very mild story of exploring a strange TTRPG Discord or some kind of a game Discord, and we have an update on, I guess, part 2? After 2 years, this sequel we all awaited. That I didn't even know about. No, I definitely heard the story before on other RPG horror story channels, 100%. So I guess it is my pleasure to introduce the update. 5 minutes in my university TTRPG Discord update. You probably don't remember the original story since I posted it a year and a half ago. To summarize it briefly, I joined a new server, said hello, I got my head bitten off for it, so I left. I have an update. In my town, if you want to make a TTRPG, all roads lead to that server. So on more than one occasion, I clicked an invite and found myself back there before immediately dipping. This most recent time, I decided to stick around and, hell, look up at the old debacle. Why not? So, funny thing, a moderator came to restore order within seconds of my leaving. I'm serious. If I had stuck around for just a few more moments, sanity would have prevailed. It was agreed by the regulars of that server who weren't involved in the conversation that something had gone badly wrong, and they seemed genuinely embarrassed and upset at the first impression I had gotten. And then, many months later, when I made that post, they felt embarrassed again. I get no pleasure from making people realize they had an RPG horror stories post made about them, but from what one admin tells me, it was something of a wake-up call for them and how they run their server. Everything is good, just an odd situation, an awkward moment made more awkward by bad timing. I don't even begrudge the original offenders either. It's been too long for me to care about that now. Live and let live. Thought you guys might like a positive follow-up to a horror story. Turns out that the server was actually properly managed and cleaned up by the people running the server, which, I mean, it's a good thing, honestly. There are servers out there that sometimes turn into complete cesspools and you don't really want to interact with them and they end up dying. We actually read a lot of RPG horror stories about game servers forming around to play D&D and other games, and they completely just rot away with horrible conduct and terrible player behavior, and just at some point everybody loses interest and just dips. It's easy to let a server just burn down or rot to place and just never maintain it, but it's another thing to have somebody step in and try to fix the issue and get to the root of the problem to make it an inviting place for everybody, especially people who have to go through that server to play some TTRPGs. If you want to foster a good community, you gotta make sure you manage that community and make sure you encourage positive interaction instead of negative interaction, like going after somebody for saying hello. Go after somebody like a rabid dog for just saying hello because it's the most generic response ever. What am I supposed to do? What is going on, skibbity fellow gamers? My name is Morrow and I'm here to play some D&D 5e. Oh yeah, baby! I'm never doing that again. I hate that. I'm gonna go soak my head in the shower until I wash the memory away from me. How my DM ruined a campaign of 4 years by being a bigot. In 2019, I got back into TTRPGs after watching a few live plays. Found a 5e game on an LFG subreddit advertised as fantasy 80s setting, something akin to a fantasy high, which I hold in high regard. After a bit interview with the DM, I joined the group. DM had created such a vibrant world and story that captivated us. The campaign really took off during COVID, providing a much-needed escape for all of us. We became close, learned of the DM's hardships, and as a group decided to send care packages as a show of appreciation for all they were doing. A couple of years into the game, there were a feeling of burnout happening with the DM, and compounded with recent relationship troubles, it really seemed like our game was doomed. Putting on my big boy pants, I volunteered to run my first campaign, as they would always lament that they could never be a player, wanted to give back and cook something up just as cool as their game. And I did. A space western opera spanning 2 parties within the same system that, as of this post, has entered its final arc with plans of another connected game afterwards. It's really cool to see various different moments where people decide, hey, you know what, I'm gonna try DMing role, whether it's to let your forever DM play as a player, or to get games running, or you just end up being curious. It's kind of cool having different motivations for that, and that motivation drives you to become better and try something new. I think it's really neat. I've never forced anybody to DM if they don't want to DM, but if they want to, hell yeah, I would definitely encourage it. Anyway, sorry, I'm being mushy for no reason. Let's continue. At around the 2-year mark, a few months ago, we got into a storyline centered the DM's character, a male Thri-Kreen fighter. In this world, collaborating with the DM, we decided that the Thri-Kreen were 13 colonies that focus on a singular need or specialty and be based off a different bug. Colony 7 would be medics, mosquitoes, Colony 3 would be engineers and termites, etc. DM's character hailed from Colony 1, the worker ants colony. The Queen of Colony 1 is the head of the entire hive, which decided that the majority of Thri-Kreen are female with males existing as grunts and for breeding. Being born in the clutch meant for a new queen, a lot of pressure was put on DM's Thri-Kreen because he was seen as an anomaly, but respected nonetheless. Worked on the character and goals, it was decided that the DM's Thri-Kreen would lead his people at the top. I did suggest an alternative route akin to the Arbiter from Halo, as the Thri-Kreen have been fighting over the land with a megacorp over resources in the system for a long time, but no success. Going with the DM's wishes will push the succession narrative in-game as a setup for the arc. During this time, I worked to come up with how this would happen without it devolving into a male running what's supposed to be a matriarchy, so I came up with Queen's Gem mechanic based off royal jelly. In-game, both in RP and storytelling, I revealed the mechanics as a means to get the power of a queen. It was clearly said that the DM's Thri-Kreen would become a queen, and everything seemed to have been okay and good to go. To me, everyone at the table understood the mechanic, or so I thought. The arc concludes with the DM Thri-Kreen regularly taking Queen's Gem and set up to be the leader of their people. In the game, there was a joke that male Thri-Kreen had 5 penises. With it being a hit of a joke, I made it lightly canon for the memes. Why not? As DM takes time to RP the Thri-Kreen taking the Queen's Gem, I thought it would be funny to mention that the number of dicks have decreased to indicate the gem's power the next time the joke would be brought up again. You know, kind of a weird thing just to throw in a random penis mechanic into the story, but let's see how it plays out, I guess. It wasn't brought up at the time, so I thought it would be an oh crap moment when I did hit him with it, and in one session it finally happened. We got the call back to the joke and I made my dialogue stating that there are 4 dicks now. The DM got very mad and stopped the game stating that it's not what they wanted and that they at no point wanted their character to become a woman. It was a bit awkward as everyone got quiet, but we did solve this like adults. I presented my case to as why I thought this would happen, as the group did chime in saying they thought it would clear through RP this would be happening. The DM didn't see it that way and didn't like the fact that it was changing who the character is. I sincerely apologized, retconned the change, and continued the game. Ooh, So, if you're gonna be physically changing some sort of aspect about a character without specifically being clear about it and check in with them, and it's all about implied stuff and like agree to the implications, I cleared through RP is a whole different thing than talking to the player directly and say, hey, so this is probably what's going to be happening. So I have my thoughts, I have my comments, but I'm gonna finish this paragraph next first. Afterwards, I made sure everything was cool and apologized again. Everything seemed to be okay, and a few sessions passed and the vibe was good. We're back in the groove. DM messaged me that he wants to bow out of the campaign and to brainstorm the character's exit. DM says this wouldn't affect their campaign in any way. I pushed, asking if it had to do with the Queen's Jam incident, and though they said not really, I felt like it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I apologized again for that, and didn't bring up how it was quickly changed to their liking, but they proceeded to drop that they're also not vibing well with some of the other players. Now, the group at my table isn't the same group from the DM's game, and though both have members of the LGBTQ+ community, the DM stated not liking my group because they didn't like the flamboyant gay personality of one player, called another player a dick, and was oddly uncomfortable with another player because they had mentioned they're dating a trans woman at some point. When I heard these reasons, I just started thinking the one player is a dick, as sometimes they can be a bit too much at times, but the other reason I needed to explore a bit more. Now, in the past, when I first met DM, he made it a point to say he never talks about politics or religion as they are powder keg subjects. I agree 100% in that they are. However, the DM was the whole point of this game, so I needed to know. DM and I have a conversation in which it is revealed they believe the right-wing slob that is regurgitated about LGBT and minority issues. It truly was heartbreaking to hear, as a minority myself, and I knew I had a moral choice in front of me. Do I continue in their game knowing what they believe, knowing that they have LGBT and minority players, or do I suck it up as the show must go on? Day comes for the session and everything is like nothing has happened. DM makes an announcement that they had left my game. Questions were asked and DM deflected with work schedule conflicts and other excuses. Were they true? Perhaps. I decided to play their game and not bring it up. Oh, okay, well, I'm glad I read more of this. Okay, well, clearly there's some sort of discrepancies and people just don't get along for one reason or another, whether it be politics or problem player behavior or either way. In this situation, I feel like maybe your DM probably felt like they don't mesh with the group and decided to remove themselves before it becomes more of an exasperated issue or something. If somebody doesn't want to participate in a game, even though you're setting up and running the whole game just for them, I mean, they have a right to say they want to leave the game. To put it in plain, one player just decided this wasn't a game for them and they're choosing to leave. And there we go. That's as plain as it can be. There's more to this story, so let's keep reading. Maybe we'll glean more context. After the game, I decided to talk to one of my players about a conversation I have with the DM. The player is a gay furry and I figured I'd let them know and hear their thoughts. While conversing, DM hops back into the call and proceeds to not only confirm their bigot views, but doubles down and reveals even more views that align with far-right rhetoric. After that conversation, I revealed the bigotry to the rest of the group and discussed how to proceed. Although members haven't strong morals against bigotry, it was ultimately decided that we could no longer continue the DM's game. Before we were able to officially declare our intention to DM, they messaged all of us stating that due to myself and DM's differing views, they're ending their game. DM proceeded to delete the Discord and block me. They even revealed story points to the other players about the character and the campaign, truly killing it. Years of character art, memes, passion gone. And through direct messages, group still regularly communicates. We still haven't gotten another game up as of this post. My game is running smoothly, coming to an end with the DM's character taking the leadership role as queen of their people. I know I made a mistake with Riot Queen's character, I'll own up to that and do better, but it feels bad knowing that something so dear to you is forever lost because of someone's hate. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end to this story. I gotta be honest, when it comes to politics, I don't got that dog in me, whatever that's supposed to mean. I've been hearing that as like a meme recently. One thing to mention in this story is the point where suddenly the word physical changes that were happening with the player's character, the player didn't like A-OK, didn't agree on. It's one thing to imply or to have it through roleplay imply that your character is going to go through physical changes and okay that stuff, but it's another thing that if there are going to be physical changes or some sort of significant changes for a player character, you may want to, as a DM, talk to the character and just AOK things as they are. Let's say you want the character to go through some sort of transformation, so to speak. Is that a cosmetic transformation? Is it a mechanical transformation? Is it going to have any buffs, any nerves? How significant is it going to be? I literally have a player that says, I want my character to lose their other arm. They already don't have an arm for their character, but they say they want to have the character lose the other arm. And that's a significant change to the character because it's going to change how they mechanically play if they have no arms. And if they're like a double amputee, it's going to significantly change the stuff. So I want to make sure that I'm just not going off and just be like, okay, this event happens and you lose your arm. I want to just ask the player, what do you mean by that? What sort of thing you want to do with it? Do we go with some sort of an eventual healing process, a restoration process, or does your character want to go into like prosthetics and make something like super techy as like an arm or something, or as an arm surrogate, or what are we going with, you know? Some sort of massive changes for a player character that a player doesn't okay is kind of a red flag, and you don't want to have that situation happen. So if anything, the best advice I can really provide is, as a DM, whenever there's any sort of massive physical changes or some sort of massive changes happening to the player character, you want to talk to them and A-okay with that. Just be clear and direct. Don't go through implications, because implications on roleplay can have a lot of misunderstanding. Just be direct and upfront with them. It's like, okay, cool. So you want your character to go through this. You want your character to go through that. How does this sound? How does that sound? Present options, ideas, communicate back and forth until people are happy about it. So that's my 2 cents, or in my case, my 2 abyssal coins, which I really could use a bit of a drink right now. Maybe like a Fanta or Sprite. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thank you so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.